Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm chatting with Dennis Kornman, the face of journalism, of Dutch sport journalism, especially when talking about combat sports. Dennis, I truly appreciated that you accepted my invitation, and I'm very happy to have you here.
It's my pleasure, Theo, and thank you for the flattering. It's too much credit, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you've spoken. I mean, it's not flattery because you've met people like Michael Bisping. You've met Demian Maia. You've made some of the faces, the greatest fighters in the world. And I was curious to know. I wanted to ask you while preparing for this interview. Before meeting such a personality, such a man like Michael Bisping, for example, do you have like pressure? Are you a bit nervous when you're about to meet somebody of that magnitude?
No, not really. You know what? The thing is, of course, you admire them and you respect them a lot, and in some cases, you used to be a big fan, or still are a fan of these people. By the end of the day, the shit still stinks, the same like your shit stinks, and they still bleed the same you bleed. So they're still humans. So no, I don't have that. Only one time in my life I've ever been nervous for an interview, when I was interviewing Dennis Bergkamp, the former Ajax and Arsenal football player, because he was a big hero of mine when I was growing up. So when I had to interview him, I was a little bit nervous then. But yeah, other than that, normally no.
No, and you've spoken to some of the greatest in the sport, but is there a fighter that you would like to meet, who you have not met yet, but would like to meet in the future?
Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Mike Tyson, 100%. Yeah. Mike Tyson, also one of my childhood heroes. Actually, my introduction into fight sports, because before, when I was small, I was all into football. But when Mike Tyson was in his prime, it was like late 80s when he became world champion, like the youngest world champion ever. My dad, who was not a boxing fan, not a martial arts fan, used to wake me up in the middle of the night to watch Mike Tyson, because that was happening. It was something going on. So I kind of grew up watching Mike Tyson, and ever since I started following more fight sports, and he's always been like one of my biggest heroes. So yeah, I would definitely like to chat with him sometimes.
And do you believe it's possible to happen? Do you see it happening in the future?
Anything is possible, man. Anything is possible. A couple of years ago, because at some point he was doing like a theater show where went on stage to talk about his life. And one of the cities he was supposed to come was Amsterdam. So 1 year before that, I already had the date red marked in my calendar. I'm going there. I'm going to apply as a journalist. I'm going to try to speak with Mike Tyson, even only for 2 minutes. But yeah, then the show got cancelled, so I never got the chance.
That's very unfortunate, but now you say you were watching Mike Tyson when you were a kid, and obviously you've got a passion for combat sports. You've covered Tour de France. You've covered football matches. But why? What makes combat sports special? Why do you have that passion for combat sports?
Well, a little bit same as you, because you start following it, but you also are a practitioner. I started kickboxing maybe 25 years ago, so you know what sport is. You know the beauty of it, but you also know the toughness of it. You know the downside, you know the upside, and you start to appreciate it a lot. And you know what it takes to be on top, right? It's not for everybody. Not the same as being a top football player is also not for everybody. But I think it's a little bit easy because the mental challenges are different in fight sports, and the more you follow it, the more you know about it, the more you start to appreciate it, and the more the passion grows for it. It's such a special thing, because you think about fighting, right? You go into a ring or into a cage with another guy who's trying to kill you. If you just think about that, it's not 100% normal, right? It's so you have to
No.
be a little bit different to willingly go into these situations to test yourself against another human being with all the risk and all the health hazards that come with it. And yeah, it's such a special thing, and I'm very interested to know why fighters have this mentality, what moves them to do such a thing, because everybody has a story, everybody has a reason why he does what he does. Everybody fights for a reason, and yeah, I love these stories behind the fighters.
Of course, there are many inspirational stories, and you've also attended UFC events. What is the atmosphere? How does it feel to be in there watching live those events?
Yeah, any live sporting events is actually great, and fighting events even more, and because the energy, and you can feel the tension in between the fighters, and everybody's glued to the ring watching the fight. It's special. I like to watch it on TV as well, but it doesn't translate as well. Watching fighting on television and watching fighting live is a totally different experience. So be in there, whether it's 100 people or 1,000 people or 20,000 people like with UFC in London. Yeah, there's nothing like that, man. And yeah, like I said, every fighting event is like that, but UFC is just bigger and better than all the other ones. So that's what makes it extra special, I suppose.
And earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that everything is possible. But if someone had told you 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that you would get the opportunity, the chance to speak to the biggest names, to the greatest athletes in the world, would you have believed if someone told you that?
Brother, 25 years ago, I was still working behind the bar and I had no idea I was going to end up doing this. So, no, probably not. But yeah, things happen for a reason, right? And somehow I got involved in journalism and media and sports media, fight media. And I've been doing it for over 20 years. And now I can't imagine something else. And now it's not normal because I'm always feel privileged talking to all these fighters, whether they world famous or just young and upcoming. I always feel I'm in a privileged position, but you get used to it. Right? It's like what you do every day, and I still love what I do, but it's just part of me now.
And where does I ask this question every time when I speak to a fighter, I ask them that question, but
Mhm.
I also wanted to ask you, where does your inner drive come from? Like when you wake up in the morning, what motivates you to keep on going, to keep on doing what you do? Where does your inner drive come from?
Well, basically, what I just explained, right? Some people they hate that job. They have office job, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. They go to the job because they have to make a living. Everybody has to make a living, right? And not all people love what they do to make a living, but they just end up in this situation and they go with it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And, they're not happy. But they do it because they have a family. And I do what I love every single day. And not every day is great. I'm not going to say 100% of the time is great. No, I have bad days also, and some days are shit, and some days you have to do things you don't really feel like. But at the end of the day, the whole picture is I get to do what I love. I get to talk all these great fighters. I get to make nice content surrounding fight sports and try to give it a platform, for as much people as possible to feel the same thing that I feel for the sport, that you feel for the sport. Um, how can you not love this, man? That keeps me going every day, and I really feel privileged that I'm in this position.
So your love for the sport is what motivates you to keep on going. And
100%.
um, and you said 25 years ago you were working in a bar. You
Yeah.
did not have a real purpose in life. Now you are a man with a purpose. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Hard to say. Hard to say. I have only one objective: is that to make this platform for fight sports as big as possible, and we all play our part, as little as it is. I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but with me and with you and with everybody involved in this fight game, whether it be a fighter, coach, fan, journalists, everybody plays their role in bringing this sport to a higher level. When I started doing this, and I started sports journalism, I was doing a lot of football because was not too many opportunities to work in fight sports. But every opportunity I got, I wanted to bring in my fight sports stories. And then when people like, yeah, is them lunatics, it's too aggressive, and people bashing each other brains in, it's not really sports. But you know what I'm talking about. Everybody has to deal with this prejudice about fight sports, and now I feel that it's coming more and more to the level that it's getting mainstream, and more people are not only understanding it but also appreciating it. And that's just the only thing I care for. That at one day it's going to be the biggest sport, or one of the biggest sports, and everybody knows about it. Everybody knows not only Conor McGregor but all the lower level fighters, and that it's 100% accepted. And what role I play in there, if I'm a producer or a journalist or a host, or doesn't really matter, man. It doesn't really matter, and I don't have a path set out for myself that I want to be doing this in 10 years, because I have never done that. I just go with the flow and see what opportunities come, and whatever role I play before the camera, behind the camera, doesn't matter, man. What matters to me is that in the end, as much people as possible get to enjoy this sport and know about it, know the fighters, the stories behind the fighters, everything. And as long as I can play my role in that, I'm a happy man.
Yeah, so you have a clear mission, a clear purpose, and you're following it, and you're just going with the flow. But many years ago, when you started with combat sports,
Hmm.
when combat sports weren't that big, weren't that mainstream, and all those people were telling you, "Are you crazy? Like this is lunatic. This is why are you doing this?" What kept your belief strong? Why did you keep on believing that combat sports could become more mainstream?
Well, at first I didn't know it would become more mainstream, but it always surprised me. Like uh, from the beginning in the 90s, we had the K1 guys winning every single year in front of 70, 80,000 people in Tokyo. The Sammy Shields, Peter Arts, Ernesto Host, later Remy Boyaski, and all the other ones, Badahari, and here people would look at them as they were criminals. And there they were celebrated like they were heroes by millions, and I never understood quite that difference, right? And if you in Japan, but also in America, where fight sport, boxing, wrestling, UFC since 1993 always plays a major part of society. It's accepted, and here we always looked at it like, yeah, it's like a lesser kind of sport. That always kind of triggers me. And I'm always been like a little bit of a rebel. So when everybody says no, you shouldn't do that, then I go ahead and do it. Go against the stream. Yeah, basic that. But I didn't know it was going to be mainstream. But it always surprised me that so many people look down on it, and I'm happy that now it's slowly but surely it's changing.
Hmm. And when you get the chance to speak closely, for example, to Justin Gaethje or Leon Edwards or those guys, are there some general qualities which you notice when speaking to those guys, like something that have in common with each other, some qualities which we, the average people, could look at and be inspired by?
Well, it's hard to point out general things because every athlete is unique in its own way. But one thing that they all have in common, and which most people don't give them credit for, is that all of them are very intelligent,
Hmm.
very smart, well-spoken people. Not always well-spoken, but you know, you can't perform martial arts on the highest level if you're stupid. Doesn't happen.
Hmm.
And don't mean book smart. And don't mean you have to go to university, but you need a certain level of intelligence to, because fighting is like chess. Also, it's not about brute power, but it's about tactic. It's about strategy. It's about anticipating what your opponent is going to do or what you want to do opposed to him. So all of them are very, very highly intelligent and very convinced of what they can do. They believe in themselves more than anything, and that is, I think, that's most important because you don't believe in yourself. How is anybody else going to believe in you? And of course, they're insecure. Every fighter has insecurity. Every fighter has fear, even if they say they don't have fear, but they all have fear before they go into a fight. But yeah, I think those are qualities like intelligence and the self belief above anything else that makes them stand out from the rest.
Okay. And okay, so they are very intelligent individuals, they are confident individuals. Um, what advice would you give, for example, to me or other sport journalists? We are now young, we are on our way. We want to make it. We want to achieve something. We want to contribute. What path should we take? What advice would you give us? What should we do and what should we not do?
Work hard, man. Don't let anybody put you down. Just work hard. And even though sometimes you have to do shitty jobs and go to shitty events you don't want to, everybody has to start at the bottom and just work yourself, work your way up. And doing so, you will acquire a network. And over years, that network will grow and grow. And at some point, you will be somebody that will be recognized also by other fighters and appreciated for the work you do because they see that you put in the work, go through the trenches, and don't give up on your dream. And then someday you will own your space 100%.
So step by step, put in the work, believe in yourself, and that's the advice. Dennis, I truly appreciate your time. Very, very, very good advice and some very nice insights you just gave us. I wish you all the best in your upcoming interviews and everything that you do. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you soon again.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you for the nice conversation, and keep up the good work, man. You're doing amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dennis.